Hi guys, it's me ChazzaHD and welcome to this race reaction to the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix that happened finished about an hour ago. How is everyone doing after that race? Not a great one. It was quite processional, quite boring, but that is what you get, unfortunately, at a street track. It tends to be that kind of race, but it's in the history books, of course, now, and these are the results in case you missed the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton wins from Max Verstappen second, Sebastian Vettel third, Bottas fourth, Raikkonen fifth, Ricciardo sixth, Alonso P7, Carlos Sainz P8, Charles Leclerc in P9, and Nico Hülkenberg in P10. Very good day for Renault in the Constructors. We'll get onto that once we get on properly to Renault. And then Ericsson P11, Van Dorn P12, Gasly 13th, Stroll 14th, Grosjean 15th, Perez is 16th, Hartley 17th, Magnussen 18th, Sorokin last of all the runners, and then Esteban Ocon retiring from the race. The only retiree, that's not a usual occurrence around Singapore, just having one retirement, but that is what has happened in today's 2018 Singapore Grand Prix. Now we'll go through all the teams and first start off with your race winners. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, they fully deserved the race win today. I did not think they would hang on for the race win. I didn't think they would have a car that was good enough over, a race distance to pull out the gap to Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel and go and win today's Grand Prix. I just didn't see it. I predicted Max Verstappen to win today's race. Of course, he did not. And I have to say for Lewis, great drive. His lap yesterday was what won him today's race, in my opinion. But his race was just brilliant all around. He won the race by over 8 seconds from Max Verstappen. And by the way, Max was on, I think, 2 laps or 3 laps fresher tyres. So Hamilton did not have it all his own way when it came to the tyre situation compared to Max. So great drive from Lewis and a very deserved race win. This has been one of his best race weekends, in my opinion, of his entire career. It's been such a good race weekend. Valtteri Bottas at P4. I think that's probably the best he could have done. He just didn't have the pace today in that Mercedes. Maybe he could have been closer to Sebastian Vettel, who was struggling with his tyres towards the end of the race. So maybe he could have been closer to Vettel, but in terms of his finishing position, I think Bottas did the best that he could. I think he did everything he could have in today's Grand Prix. But for Mercedes, what a race. What a result. Qualifying was great, and the race is absolutely brilliant for them. Lewis Hamilton now leads by 40 points in the Drivers' Championship. What a result for Mercedes. Let's see what some of you guys are saying about Mercedes in the chat. Just looking at some comments here. Max had gearbox troubles. That's from Calamero. Max has had quite a lot of reliability issues. His engine on his final Q3 run was cutting out. That I don't think cost him pole, but he could have got closer to Lewis Hamilton. And then if that's happened today, then it cost him again getting closer to Hamilton. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's cost him the race win, because I think Hamilton was just too quick today. I think he was just too quick today. Nikki says, Lewis was incredibly quick this race. He showed why he is regarded as one of the best drivers on the current grid. Valtteri wasn't amazing, but good enough. Great result overall. You've summarised it brilliantly. That's exactly how their race was. Nation Gurung, Seb will have to do a 2013 to win the championship. Yep. He needs to I'd say ideally he needs to win 4 of the last 6 races, at least. Preferably every single race, but 4 of the last 6, if he wins those, then he's giving himself enough of a chance to at least close down the gap. Not necessarily win the title, but at least close down the gap. Nation also says, will the Honda be as good as the Renault next year? If they keep making progress, yeah, it should be. I think at Spa and Monza, the Honda was very good, if not better, performing than the Renault. So you could argue right now they are level with Renault. Some people talking about Perez and Sorokin. We'll get onto that very soon once we get onto Force India and Williams respectively. Let me look for more comments in the chat. By the way, guys, if it sounds like I have, say, a deeper voice compared to the race watch-along, it's because I do have now quite a sore throat after doing a 3-hour-long race watch-along. It was still fun to do, though, despite it damaging my throat. I think that's RD says, I heard the upgrade is going to be 750 brake horsepower for the Honda engine. Okay. Blessed you. In qualifying, Mercedes were brilliant, particularly Lewis. Then everything was sealed in the race. Absolutely. I guess then we'll move on from Mercedes and go on to Ferrari, who, with their drivers, I think the drivers did the best they could with what they were given in terms of strategy and in terms of just the car in general. But I think it's clear to see that the reason Ferrari have ended up with what is, let's be honest, a not good enough result, a poor result from this race, the reason they've ended up with this is because of what they did in qualifying. They blew it in qualifying and that has destroyed their race. They could have got P2 today, though, with Sebastian Vettel, but Ferrari kind of messed up the strategy again by pitting him, you know, taking a risk, pitting him early to try and get ahead of Hamilton, but then he was stuck behind Perez, which meant Lewis Hamilton, when he pitted, when he came out ahead of Perez, Hamilton could then run away and Vettel had to get past Perez, and then Max got ahead of Vettel in the pit stop phase because Vettel was stuck behind Perez. So their, I guess, aggressive strategy did not work. It just did not work. And Kimi Raikkonen, I thought, was okay. Nothing special, nothing bad, but what a poor race for Ferrari. I know 3rd and 5th doesn't sound poor, but considering that they do have a very fast car, we know this. They do have a very fast car, but they continue to bottle it and bottle it and bottle it, and it seems as though their car is actually getting a bit slower compared to Mercedes. So maybe Mercedes are making some upgrades, I don't know, but for the next race in Russia, Ferrari should, as we always say, should have the fastest car. They probably will, but knowing them, they'll bottle it again. But what do you guys think of Ferrari's race? Again, qualifying is what cost them when it came to the race. Camel Cube, nope, I won't be able to show highlights because, yep, this channel will be took down very quickly. Nikki says Vettel and Raikkonen were both good enough in the race, but Ferrari made a gamble, which failed. Just looking at other chat questions there, sorry. Typical Ferrari strategy error. Yeah, it was. Ferrari just cannot get the strategy right at all. They are so poor when it comes to that side of racing. And if you continuously get that side wrong, you are never going to win a title. You're never going to do it. Unless you have a car that is way out in front like the Mercedes car was in 2014 and 2015 and, you know, 2016. Unless you have a car that's that fast, you're going to lose the title if you cannot cut out these teams is basic strategy errors. Bernie Eccleston, Ferrari are used to losing. That's from Daniel Dimov. Blessed you. Ferrari failed to cover off Max by miscalculating the pit lane time. It's the kink of the pit exit that Max, or kink at the pit exit that Max took advantage of. Surely though, Ferrari would have done all the calculations before they pitted Max. Surely they would have worked out how they were going to fare when it comes to traffic and, you know, everything. These teams, I guarantee you, and I know they do, they go through every single scenario. They have computers which will simulate every single scenario of what could happen in the race in terms of strategy. So they knew that if they pitted at lap 15, with the safety car being out for 3 or 4 laps, they knew that they would possibly have to be in traffic. So you could argue they took an unnecessary risk. They should have waited longer. I think they chose the wrong tyres to go on the car after the first and only pit stop. They should have put on soft tyres, not the ultra softs. The ultra softs today were terrible. So yeah, they were just not good on strategy today. Ferrari, I'm going to show that message from B. Hassan. That's his 3-word race review. Yeah, I think we can all understand what he means by that. Nathan, Ferrari needs to force a pit from Hamilton first so they could have the strategic advantage. Ferrari should, in my opinion, have waited for Hamilton to pit and then maybe stop a lap later and then put on the same tyres and try and race Hamilton to the end of the race. But they didn't do that. They went the wrong way, clearly, on strategy. Legendary Sniper, sorry I'm late. I didn't get the notification even though I have notifications on. That's just YouTube doing its normal thing. The notification system is not fully operational, as we all know, on YouTube. B. Hassan 786, they shouldn't have pitted with so much performance left in the hypers. They should have left it, I'd say, at most 3 to 4 laps longer. If they'd gone 3 or 4 laps longer, I think it would have worked out better for them. And I think they would have been able to put on the soft tyres and go to the end and be a lot more racy and probably finish in P2. But, of course, that's not what happened. Daniel Dimov, I think Ferrari was surprised that their tyres did work. I mean, they probably expected to have... I guess you're trying to say didn't work. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I mean, they probably expected to have better pace on the Ultras. I think they did as well, but I think as was proven, the Ultra Soft just wasn't a good tyre at all. The soft tyre was very good compared to the Ultras and the Hypers. Nation Gurung, what's your opinion on the 2021 concept? I discussed this in my practice review that was live on Friday, so go check that out if you want to see a more in-depth discussion about that. The cars don't look massively horrible. I think the rear and the side pods of the car look fine. The front wing I'm not a big fan of, but as I said earlier in my race watch along when someone asked the same question, as long as these cars provide close wheel-to-wheel racing, I don't care. I don't care what they look like. Even if they look very, ugly, like the Halo does. As long as... I don't care how the cars look, as long as we get great racing. That's all I care about at all. But, right, we'll move on from Ferrari. I just saw a question there. Let me just... Shalang, is Vettel Championship over? 75% of me says yes. 25% of me says no. So, yeah, most likely the championship is over. If Hamilton wins in Russia, then probably, yes, the championship is all but over. Let's go on to Red Bull, who in the race at times had good race pace, but at other times they didn't. It was kind of similar to... I'm trying to think of it. There was another race this year where they kind of did it. I think it was Hungary. They would have periods of the race where they were very quick and then other periods where they weren't quick. It was very similar to the Hungarian Grand Prix. And yeah, Red Bull, I think if they had more consistent good pace, they could have gone for the race win today with Max Verstappen. Of course, Verstappen was passed by Vettel after the start, so that did not help his chances. Maybe Max could have been very competitive for the race win if he had stayed ahead of Vettel at the start. Who knows? But I think Red Bull just lacked a bit of consistency when it came to the pace of their car. But still a good result, finishing in P2 with Max Verstappen. Very good drive from him. Daniel Ricciardo in P6. from Q3 on, he just did not have the pace. He just did not have the pace, unfortunately for him. He did close up to the back of Raikkonen and Bottas for 4th and 5th, but couldn't do anything with it because the ultra soft tyre, for one, wasn't working massively well at the end of the race, and he had some traffic to deal with as well. But for Red Bull, you know what, I'd say a better result than I was expecting. I thought the best they could get in this Grand Prix coming into this weekend was 3rd, and they've got 2nd. So a good weekend for Red Bull. I think in Russia they're going to be way off the pace, because if anyone has seen Red Bull's history at Russia, they never do well at that track. Last year, in 2017, they were almost 2 seconds behind the pole position man, Sebastian Vettel, in 2017. So Red Bull are going to be clearly 5th and 6th at the Russian Grand Prix. And yeah, that is their Grand Prix at Singapore. Let me see what some of you guys are saying about Red Bull. Red Bull, this from Blessed Tube. Red Bull had to partly nurse their car since they were worried about reliability and they needed points on this track. I don't think necessarily they need points, because they're not going to finish lower than 3rd or higher than 3rd. They're not close enough or close to someone ahead or behind to gain a position or lose a position. So I don't think points really matter. Of course, they do want to get some race finishes. They don't want to force reliability issues, but I don't think, you know, they desperately need points anymore, because they're definitely going to finish 3rd in the Constructors. Camel Tube, nice to see that Ricciardo did not have any engine issues. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see that. Hopefully, in Russia, he does not have any issues. But knowing him, he probably is going to, because he has had some issues at Russia in the past. Nikki says, Verstappen, despite his stall in the pits, stayed in front of Vettel, and after both made their pit stops, which was great. Ricciardo has lost his mojo. That's another thing to mention with Verstappen, is that he almost did not jump Vettel because he semi-stalled in the pit box. So good job by Max to still come out and get that move completed on Sebastian Vettel. And Daniel Ricciardo, yeah, he has lost his mojo, but it's not for the reasons that maybe you're thinking or others are thinking, because I have seen some people saying, you know, oh, Ricciardo's not interested in Red Bull anymore, that's why he's so slow at the moment. Ricciardo's been like this in terms of pace. He's been like this since the Austrian Grand Prix and just has not been quick since then. Very good first half of 2018, but the second half, yeah, definitely a drop-off. I think Max would have eventually passed Vettel anyway. That's from Daniel Dimov. I don't think he would have. I think it's so hard to pass at Singapore. I think Sebastian would have held him back. Even though Seb was losing so much time at the end of the race, I don't think Max would have got past, because he would have needed straight line speed, you know, good straight line speed that he doesn't have. And, you know, going down into turn 7, which is the main overtaking opportunity on the track, I don't think he would have been close enough to get past. So I don't think Max would have got past Vettel if Vettel came out in 2nd place. Hey, how you? I think that's how you say it. Ricciardo is intimidated by young Max. No, there's no way that Ricciardo's intimidated. Max is a very good driver, very fast, very aggressive, but, you know, at the end of the day, he's a human just like he is, and Ricciardo has beat him plenty of times since they've been teammates, so there's nothing to be afraid of. B Hassan 786. Let's all be thankful that Max didn't run Vettel into the wall. Yep, that's good that we didn't get any accidents with Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. But you know what? I'm going to move on from Red Bull, and now we're going to get right into the heart of the midfield. First off is McLaren. Very good race for McLaren today. Fernando Alonso finishing in P7. At one point, he had the fastest lap of the race. What a performance from Fernando. And I said in my race watch along build-up, that he was the one to watch because he had a free choice of tyres, and he was the first driver to get that free choice of tyres in P11. And there you go, P7. So I'm absolutely correct on that. And yeah, it was a great drive. I wouldn't say I saw it coming, but I knew he had the pace to get firmly into the points. So great result there for Fernando. And Van Dorn, I have to just say, also very good. P12, not that far off Ericsson. He was only a second off at the end of the race. So Van Dorn also very good. And I think we need to also mention that Stoffel had a good race, because his qualifying races in the last few have not been too good, excluding Hungary, of course, where he would have scored points. But yeah, for McLaren, a very, very good race. But going forward, I think this is probably the last race they're going to do well at. I don't think they're going to do this kind of, race in terms of the result in Russia or Japan. I don't think those tracks suit the McLaren car as much as this one does. I just don't see it. So, good result, but there's a lot more pain to come between now and the end of 2018. Let's see what you guys say about McLaren. Blessed you. Best race for McLaren because both cars finished. Yeah, but then again, they've had plenty of races where both cars have finished but not had points in the past few years. So at least they scored points, and good points with Fernando Alonso. And now they are 26 points ahead of Force India instead of 20. So good job there by McLaren. And Nicky says Alonso had a good race finishing in P7. Van Dorn finally had a decent race. Yes, absolutely agree. Ronan Brady, this is still not acceptable for a team with such a big budget. I agree. I think this year has been very poor. Even if they finish in P6, you cannot argue against that, because McLaren came into 2018 thinking they were going to compete with Red Bull, and they're so far off Red Bull. It's so far off Red Bull. I don't know why. I still don't get why they actually thought that was a possibility. So at the end of the day, McLaren's 2018 has been largely unsuccessful and very, very poor. But today's race was good. So yeah. Let me just show that message from Horizontal. But what the bleep Perez doing, seriously? I'll get on to Perez very soon because I have some things to say about Sergio Perez. RD, because they are all talk. They are, I've said this before, they're like a hype train when it comes to pre-season. They're constantly hyping themselves up about how great they're going to be, and then nothing, as always, with McLaren. But we will go on now to Renault, who had a good race. I wouldn't necessarily say the pace was amazing, but as I've said with Haas before, all they have to do is concentrate on beating their direct rival. And for Renault, their direct rival, of course, is Haas. Haas did not score any points, and Renault scored 5 points, meaning that Renault are now 5 points more ahead of Haas in the Constructors. The gap is now, I believe, 15 points. Can Renault hold on to that? Maybe. It's kind of 50-50 right now. I still think Haas have a very good chance of clawing that back, because I think Haas will be very quick. I think Haas will be very quick, and I don't think Renault will be that quick at that Grand Prix. But very good race for Renault. This is the result they needed, and yeah, a very good one, hopefully, for Renault. The past 2 races, which have been good for them in terms of scoring points, hopefully that's a sign that Renault are going to start doing better than they were at Spa, than they were at Hungary. Hopefully this is a good sign for the Renault team. But what do you guys think of Renault in today's race? Did you think they were any good? Was it what you expected? Horizontal Renault was pretty good today. Yeah, I agree. Ronan Brady, the Hulk hasn't been as good recently. Yeah, you're right there. He hasn't actually been amazing. Monza, he had a penalty. Spa, did he have a penalty at Spa? yeah, he did have a penalty at Spa. So those two races, you know, were massively affected by those penalties. This race, I think he did the best he could with the car he had. So I wouldn't necessarily say he was poor this weekend, but yeah, I'd say since Silverstone, he hasn't exactly been on it as much as he was, say, in the first 7 or 8 races. But I think the reason that is because the Renault car has progressively got worse since the first 6 or 7 races. Sainz had a good day. That's a blessed tube. Yes, he did. I'd say one of the top 5 performers today. Very good from Carlos Sainz. Nicky, it was good from Renault, but I think Haas will have the better pace for the duration of the season. Probably, yep, they should. Maybe Mexico Renault will be good. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, Haas should have the better pace going forward. For the people asking about the Perez and Sorokin move, I'm literally about to get onto it, so don't worry. Just want to see if anyone has anything to say about Renault before we go on to Force India. Legendary Snipers. First half of the season was all good and fun. The second half so far is very boring and so bad. I think they're talking about the quality of the races. Monza was a good race, so you know we've had a good race there. So let's wait for a few more races before we you know start saying how boring the racing is. But we'll go on now to Force India because it seems as though some people want to discuss this Sergio Perez incident. But first, this happened at the start. Sergio Perez pushing Esteban Ocon into the wall, causing Ocon to retire after just 3 corners. So unfortunate for Ocon. And I'll be honest, I don't think Perez could have done anything you know, more than what he did. I don't think Perez could quite see Ocon. That's why Perez made contact. I think Ocon was kind of going for an impossible move around the outside, considering that part of the track is very tight on exit. So I think Ocon maybe could have been more cautious in that incident, but of course the accident happened, and rightfully, in my opinion, there was no penalty. It was just a racing incident. But then the incident between Sergio Perez and Sergei Sorokin, I have to say, I have no idea still what Perez thought he was doing. Such poor driving. And you know, Sorokin is side by side with him. Sorokin is close to him. He's close to his car. But Sorokin is not making a move towards Perez. Sorokin just wants to keep it in a straight line and put it down the inside going into the next corner, which I believe was turn 18. Going into the underground, this very small underground section. And then Perez just decides, nope, you're not racing with me. I'm just going to move across, and deservedly destroyed his own race by getting a drive-through and picking up damage to his car as well. No idea what Perez thought he was doing. Such poor driving. That's probably some of the worst driving Perez has done in his career. That was so poor. I wouldn't say as bad as what he did to Ocon at Spa in 2017. That's probably the worst thing he's done. But today, overall for Force India, not good enough. Really not good enough. Of course, Ocon could have done something if he got through the first lap. But yeah, with what Perez did, he cost Force India a lot of points today, I feel. Perez was actually quite quick in the first stint. Wasn't that far off the lead. But then what happened. Let's see what some of you guys are going to say about Sergio Perez. What do you guys think about Perez? About what he did? Hello to Lucas, who's just joined the chat. Ronan Brady. I think Perez deliberately crashed into him. I get why you say that, because it does kind of look like he did that on purpose. But I don't think he did. I think Perez thought Sorokin was not either as close to Perez as, you know, Perez thought, or he thought that Sorokin was fully behind and not slightly side by side with him. So I think there was a bit of miscalculation going on with Perez's car in terms of the way he handled his car at that point. But still very poor. So poor from Perez. I really like Sergio Perez. He's probably in my top 5 or 6 drivers that I like on the grid. So, why? Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Daniel Dimov, he was frustrated, I guess, but he got basically past him. You know, the frustration is basically over. You don't need to go and do that and destroy your race even further than, you know, it was destroyed being behind Sergei Sorokin. Do you think the 5-second time penalty he got was light? That's from RD. He didn't actually get a 5-second penalty. He got a full drive-through penalty. So that would have, I think that cost him about 20 or so seconds or 25 seconds. So, yeah. He was in a latent rage. That's from Ronan Brady. Lucas asks who's the driver of the day apart from Hamilton. I will get onto that at the end of this stream. A legendary snipers. Perez should have got more than that penalty. I guess that's what you're trying to say. He got a drive-through. Now, that isn't the harshest penalty you can get in a race. You can get a 10-second stop-go. That's the harshest penalty that you can take and still continue in the race or be disqualified from the race. I don't think he should have been disqualified, but maybe you could argue a stop-go. Maybe, but you know, at least he should have got a drive-through, and that's exactly what he got. Nicky Perez should get suspended for one race. I disagree. It was bad, but it wasn't that bad. I've seen a lot worse in motorsport than what Sergio did today. If you look closely, he looked to the left and then deliberately turned into Sorokin. Absolutely unacceptable. Again, I don't think he should be suspended for one race, but it was very poor driving. Maybe a grid penalty for Russia to, you know, drill it home. You know, what you did in Singapore was so stupid. Maybe that would do the job, I don't know. But we'll move on from Force India. I think we've said enough about Sergio Perez's pathetic driving in that incident. And go on to Williams. You know what? I thought Williams weren't bad today. I thought their pace on the soft tyre at the start in the first few laps was very good. Of course, Sorokin was defending for his life against Grosjean, Perez, Hulkenberg, Hartley, Magnussen, so many drivers. And for a long time was holding his own. But then the contact with Perez did some kind of damage to his car because he couldn't control his car anymore. So that was a shame for him. But at least he got his elbows out and showed that he could race and that he is a bit hard in defence. He did get a penalty for pushing Hartley off the track, which was absolutely fair. So yeah, Sorokin showed, you know, good, robust defence today. And Stroll, I guess, was okay in where he finished in the race. But for Williams, yeah, very poor. We're not going to talk about Williams, though, with the chat because, as we usually do, we just move on very quickly with Williams. And we'll go on to Toro Rosso. Didn't have the pace in practice, didn't have the pace in qualifying, and again, don't have the pace in the race. Brendan Hartley had a lot of wheel-to-wheel battles with Sergei Sorokin, as I just mentioned. With Haas of Kevin Magnussen, Grosjean. So he had some battles, but ended up finishing quite low down in, I think it was 17th in the end. And for Pierre Gasly, P14, I don't think he could have done better. I don't think he could have because the Toro Rosso just has not had any real pace this weekend. I think Toro Rosso really need to wonder why they were so slow this weekend. This track normally is very good for them, but I don't know what to say. They were just so poor this weekend. But guys, what did you think of Toro Rosso's race? Fish lips. Lewis is a dick, but a great driver. Okay. Just looking at some comments. Sorry I'm late. That's from JB. No problem. We've still got probably another 15 to 20 minutes left in this stream. We'll be doing the driver of the day soon enough. Blessed Tube. Not a good day for Toro Rosso with 2 new drivers for this track. Pierre Gasly has raced around this track, I'm sure, in GP2. I'm sure he did. So it's not a new track for him, but for Hartley it is. So yeah, that is probably playing somewhat of a factor, but I still expected more. I really did. I still expected more. Toro Rosso, question mark. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why they were so slow. JB, Toro Rosso was pretty bad. Yep. Legendary. I don't know why you're saying that in the chat. That doesn't really have any relevance to what we're talking about, but okay. Does anyone have anything else to talk about with Toro Rosso, or shall I just move on to Haas? I guess I'm just going to move on to Haas. We'll do that right now. Now, Haas had a lot of potential, especially with Romain Grosjean coming into this race. Grosjean was running in P8, a good points position for the first stint, but when he pitted early after horrible tyre wear, he got stuck behind the Williams of Sirotkin and Perez and loads of cars, and because of that, he lost so much time to cars like Ericsson, Van Dorn, Leclerc, who were miles behind him. He lost so much time that he ended up finishing behind them and in P13. The Haas just did not have any good tyre wear today and were actually quite poor. Kevin Magnussen finishing basically at the back. What an awful race for Haas. This has to be one of their worst race performances of the season. Maybe on a par with Monaco for being their worst race performance of 2018. So bad. I don't understand why they were so far off the pace. And in the first stint, Grosjean was falling way back off Perez, who was in P7. So they couldn't get anywhere near the Force India in, normal conditions with no traffic. So Haas just did not have any pace from the first lap onwards, and they need to get that sorted for the Russian Grand Prix. Maybe the new floors had an effect on that, I don't know, but yeah, really poor pace. Let's see what some of you guys are going to say about Haas. Haas has not been very good. Yep. They failed with Magnussen yesterday. That's from Daniel Dimov. Yep, I agree. They failed to get him out on track when they needed to. That did affect his result, of course, starting down in P16. Ronan Brady, do you think Verline will go to Toro Rosso next year? Now he's no longer with Mercedes. Pathetic. I guess you're trying to say program instead of performance. If Toro Rosso have the opportunity to sign Verline, they should. Because Verline has proven that he's good enough to be an F1. Clearly has proven that. Blessed Tube, Haas ran too much downforce for the race, hence the lengthy scrapping on the scraping, I guess you'd want to say, on the straight line. That could have played a factor, but their tyre wear in general just was so bad. Lucas, what do you think of K-Mag's move against Hartley? I can't actually remember that move in the race. I think he went off the track, didn't he, at turn 7 and got the move done. I think that was it. So if that was it, then yeah, that's an illegal overtake by Kevin Magnussen. Ben McCarthy, they can look at the positives. Renault only got 5 points at a track where they needed more, in my opinion. Yeah, Renault probably should have been better at this race, especially if you look at the pace on Friday. Renault looked like they were going to dominate that midfield battle, and they didn't. So yeah, I see your point, but that 5 points that Renault have gained today could be the difference. It really could be at the end of 2018. Hartley went off track. That's from Lucas. Again, I can't fully remember that incident because there were other things going on at the time. So sorry if I don't remember particularly that incident. Lucas, oh yeah, Grosjean was off track, off of the track, not K-Mag at turn 7. That's another thing I want to mention as well. Grosjean's overtake on Sirotkin was illegal. It was illegal. He went off the track and passed Sirotkin. that's illegal. I don't understand how it's so hard for the people of the FIA to understand how that is, you know, how they can... I don't understand how they think that's legal. He went off the track and you can't say he was pushed off. He wasn't pushed off. He could have lifted out earlier if he didn't want to go off the track. Grosjean really was in the wrong there when it comes to illegal overtakes or legal overtakes. Definitely not correct from Romain Grosjean. And of course, he got a penalty for ignoring blue flags. Very poor driving from him in that instance. Should have moved over earlier. Should have. But he was concentrating too much on getting past Sergei Sorokin. Fish slips. Danny is going to be sad a lot next year with Renault next year. Well, let's wait and see because Renault might be very good. We don't know yet. 2019 will bring some changes, I think, to the pecking order. So, yeah, we'll move on now to the final team in this race reaction, which is, of course, Sauber. Charles Leclerc finishing in P9, very good. Sauber now gained 2 points in Toro Rosso in that constructors battle for 8th. That's very important for Sauber and for Toro Rosso as well. That's why Toro Rosso, poor performance this weekend, you know, that makes it even more poor that Sauber have gone and scored points with Charles Leclerc at a track where Toro Rosso should have been better than Sauber. But, you know, great race from Charles Leclerc. You know, good overtake on Pierre Gasly to get him to P9 and then show great pace to finish in the points. There's nothing really much to say on Charles Leclerc. We didn't see much of his race. Marcus Ericsson P11 also, I think, did very well. And Sauber in general showed good pace. I think they showed good pace. And what Sauber did in the race is what Toro Rosso really should have done with both cars, a P9 and a P11, but of course they did not do that. So good race for Sauber at, of course, a track which does not suit their car normally, but today it seemed to. Horizontal, yes, my baby Leclerc. Bless you, Leclerc, very good. Not letting his crash deter him. Of course, he crashed in practice 1, I think it was. Yeah, it was practice 1. That was not a smart error there. But yeah, he did recover from that. Well done, Sauber. That's from JB, absolutely. Sauber made a good race. That's from Lucas, agreed. Nathan says, Vettel is currently in the fastest package and still can't hold it together. Being in a Mercedes would not help. If he was in a Mercedes and Hamilton was in the Ferrari, I think Hamilton would have won the title by now, literally. I really think that. Vettel has to be, and I think people's doubts about Sebastian back in 2013 and 2012, 2011 about, oh, he only wins when he's in the best car, have come true, I think. I think that's come true. Because the last 2 years has proven that Sebastian, if he's going to win the title, has to be in a car that can be, you know, very, very fast. I know in 2012 the Red Bull was not that quick, but at the end of that season it went back to dominant levels of pace. That's why he went on to win the title. So I just think the concerns or the criticisms of Sebastian back then are ringing true right now. I think it's clear to see that. Chaz, I couldn't watch the race today. That's from Ben McCarthy. What would you rate it out of 10? Out of 10, I'd probably give it a 3 or a 4. It wasn't that good. It was quite boring, actually, at times. This is from Daniel Dimov. I disagree. It's just that Hamilton has been luckier this year. Okay. You think Hamilton would have in China, Azerbaijan, Austria in a similar situation? Would have what? I don't know what you're trying to say there. Would have won? I guess is what you're trying to say. I think Hamilton, for example, France, I don't think he would have hit Bottas. Austria, I think, wasn't so much Vettel's mistake that, you know, getting that grid penalty. I think the team had a big part to play in that mistake. So I think Hamilton or Vettel, that probably would have happened. I think the team made a massive communication error. But then you have Germany. I don't think Hamilton would have made that mistake. And I don't think Hamilton maybe would have spun like Vettel did at Monza. But there would have been less of a chance of him making the same mistake. So I disagree. Surely he made a mistake in Germany and Italy, but on most occasions things just don't work out for him. But that's not always because of luck for Lewis Hamilton. And I've seen a lot of people saying that Lewis Hamilton this season has been lucky, and I massively disagree. Because, you know, Lewis Hamilton, for example, had reliability issues at the end of the Australian Grand Prix and for Bahrain because he had to take a grid penalty, and then had a engine failure at Austria. Vettel hasn't had a reliability issue this season. So I don't quite get from that stance how Hamilton has been luckier when he's had more reliability issues than Vettel. The reason Vettel and Ferrari are not leading the championship is because Ferrari blow it on strategy and Vettel blows it behind the wheel half the time. That's why. Hamilton, this season, has not made a mistake. Mercedes have made a mistake on strategy a couple of times. For example, Austria, that was a big mistake. But it seems as though Mercedes were going to have an engine failure anyway. So, you know, maybe they wouldn't have won anyway. But you cannot doubt that Lewis Hamilton has been better than Vettel this year. I'm sorry, you cannot doubt that. And if you just say, oh, well, it's luck, then I just think people who say that are in denial of reality. Hamilton has had bad weekends like China and Canada. That's what Ben McCarthy just said. That's another thing. I will say with Hamilton, he hasn't always been very quick at every weekend. For example, even Bahrain, where he took the grid penalty, he was not faster than Bottas in qualifying there. China, Bottas was faster and better. Canada, but Hamilton did have some slight reliability issues. And we've got to remember Mercedes had just not a good engine for that race because they were supposed to bring the new one, but it did not come to that race because of reliability issues. So again, when it comes to the whole Hamilton luckier than Vettel thing, I don't get it. Hamilton has had, 3 reliability issues this season. Vettel has not had one. And Hamilton leads by 40 points. I think that tells you absolutely everything you need to know. Leclerc to replace Vettel. Ferrari not trusting Vettel no more. That's from Gina. It depends what happens next year. If Vettel bottles it again, then I think there will be at least equal status between the two. If not, the team's slightly favouring Leclerc more. If Leclerc does beat Vettel or, you know, get very close to Vettel in the championship. Daniel Dimov, other than France, Germany, and to some extent Italy, Vettel hasn't made any other mistakes. Hamilton made a mistake in Germany, also in Canada. People just like to ignore it. I'd like to know what mistake Hamilton made in Germany. I guess you're talking about qualifying where he went over the curb. Yeah, you could say that, but you know, he didn't know that he was going to get a hydraulic issue from that. It's another reliability issue. There you go. Breaking down in qualifying. And what else? Canada, he didn't make mistakes in Canada. The reason he was slow in Canada was because of reliability issues, which he admitted to after the race. And Vettel has made mistakes at more than just Germany, France, and Italy. For example, Baku. There you go. That was a mistake. Even though it wasn't a massive one compared to the other ones, it was still a mistake. Ronan Brady, I'm a Vettel fan, but Hamilton has been better, but with luck, he has made the most out of Vettel's mistake. But again, that's not luck. That's not luck. If another driver makes a mistake, it's not lucky if the other person keeps capitalising. That's not luck at all. That's just one driver being better than the other. That's not luck at all. If Hamilton was in the lead by 40 points, but Vettel, without making those mistakes, say instead he retired from the Germany Grand Prix and fell down the field in Monza, and all these races, France, say he fell down the field because of reliability issues, then I would say Hamilton has been lucky this season, but I don't think he has been. I actually think when it comes to reliability, Vettel has been luckier than Hamilton. It's clear to see that, and if you deny that, then again, you're in denial. But we'll move on from that rant about why Hamilton is not lucky and why, there's no luck for me involved in the championship battle. And we'll go on now, guys, to driver of the day. Who is your driver of the day for the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix? Put in the chat right now. I'm going for Fernando Alonso. His performance today was so good. I think if he was in a Mercedes or a Ferrari, he could have won the race today. He was that quick. He was the only driver out of the midfield not to be lapped. Great performance. Absolutely great. Lucas says Alonso. Daniel Dimov says Sorokin. JB says Alonso. Legendary Snipers, Max Verstappen. Blessed you, Alonso. Lucas Leclerc. Nathan says Alonso or Max. Maldonado driver of the Maldonado of the day. Sorry, I read that wrong. So Maldonado of the day, Perez. Absolutely. That's from Spider Monkey 747. JV Sorokin for making the race exciting. Sorokin wasn't bad today. Wasn't bad. He wasn't as quick as his teammate, but showed some very good hard defending. James Dixon says Max Verstappen. Any more driver of the days, guys, before I head off? Spider Monkey next in Rush. Who is your pick from the midfield? I'd probably say Haas. But I think Force India will be in there as well. Ben McCarthy, Alonso driver of the day, but driver of the weekend is Hamilton. Absolutely agreed. Driver of the weekend has to be Lewis Hamilton. What a weekend for him. Ronan Brady, timing of safety car and Azerbaijan were luck. There is no denying that, but he still would be ahead anyway. Yeah, you could say that, and yeah, that was unlucky for him, but they did make a slight mistake on that, because if Vettel stayed out on track instead of pitting again, I think Vettel would have come out and stayed in the lead. So it wasn't massively lucky for Hamilton. I chose Williams instead of Red Bull. Legendary Snipers. I think you're talking about your F1 2018 career mode. Yeah. If you pick the Williams, you're going to be at the back, no doubt. Ben McCarthy, are you doing a Q&A anytime soon? I will get onto that very, very soon in about a couple of minutes' time. Blessed you. I enjoyed qualifying more than the race. Spider Monkey 747. I love this channel during the race week. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, this is what I do every race week. Things will be improving though for the coming races. For the next race, I'm going to announce this now. I'm probably going to announce this tomorrow as well. From now on, the qualifying reviews, if you follow this channel, you know that the qualifying reviews come out on Saturday night. But from now on, and this will be for 2019 onwards as well, so it's going to be starting at Russia, but will be for 2019 as well. The qualifying reviews instead will come out early on Sunday morning. For example, Russia, because the race starts, I think, at 12 PM or 10 past 12, the qualifying review will be coming out 7, 8 AM. Again, I know that's very early, but I want to put more effort into those qualifying reviews and make them better. And to do that, I need more time. So that's what's going to happen with the qualifying reviews. And for the Russian Grand Prix, I will have a temporary timing system that I'm going to kind of test out for Russia, and if it works well and if I can update it, you know, well, then we'll continue keeping that for the remaining races, and then I'll make improvements on that timing system for 2019. But basically what that timing system is going to be is me basically at every 5 laps updating with a new graphic what the race order is, if, you know, positions change around. But with the way F1 is at the moment, and with the way the racing is normally in Russia, I won't have to change the graphic for what the order is very much. But there will be a timing system for Russia, absolutely. And for 2019, well, you'll just have to wait, won't you, until the end of 2018 to find out what I'm going to be doing and what improvements I'm going to be bringing for the race weekends. But guys, that is it for this race reaction. But before I go, I just need to remind you guys of something. Here you go. This is not my weekend schedule, but my race weekend schedule, as I guess I'd say. Tomorrow on Monday, between 4 and 5 p.m, I will upload a recorded race review for the Singapore Grand Prix. Don't forget to subscribe and check that video out by hitting the notifications bell. And at 6 p.m. UK time, if you're new to the channel, I go live at 6 p.m. on a Monday night to do a post-race live Q&A. So that's what's going to be happening at 6 p.m. We'll be live for 45 minutes. You guys can ask me questions and I'll answer them for, you know, the best part of 40 to 45 minutes. Hopefully you guys can join me for that. But guys, thank you for coming along for this weekend streams and all the videos. It's been great as always. The views haven't been as good as Italy, and yeah, there hasn't been as much traffic to the channel, but Singapore is not, you know, as big of a view getter as Italy is. And, you know, with people going back to school, I wasn't expecting this race to be massive, but still, more progression has been made for the channel, and we are getting closer and closer, guys, to 1,000 subs. Hopefully by October we will get 1k subs. Hopefully we can get to that very, very soon. But guys, thank you for this weekend. Don't forget to subscribe either on the bottom right of the screen, click on my channel name, or click on the link in the description. Like this video, comment down below what you thought of this stream, and what did you think of the 2018 Singapore Grand Prix. As well, check out my Twitter and my website. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for more updates as to when I'm uploading, and if there are any issues with my videos or with, you know, why I'm not uploading when I said I was going to, then follow me on Twitter. It is very important that you do so to keep up to date with me on the channel. Again, check out the website to keep up to date with the channel, and don't forget to join our Discord server. A link below is in the description. We've got a good community over there that is slowly growing. And yeah, it's a good community we have here on ChazzaHDF1. But guys, I will see you all tomorrow for the post-race Q&A. And hopefully you guys can join me for that and interact all once again.